This episode of the Grand Rising Show was brought to you by Autochthonous Assembly, where the real work gets done. Autochthonous Assembly is a gathering of the minds that do the work. Now, for many of our first-time subscribers and first-time visitors, you may be wondering who Autochthonous Assembly are. You can find this information about our mission statement and our core values on the website at autochthonousassembly.com/about. We are a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous American voices by using genealogy, also known as family history, or your family tree, which is the study of families and the tracing of their lineages and history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Our core values are the foundation of our company, which is essential to our success and serve as a lens through which we evaluate every business decision. Those core values are, but are not limited to, integrity, which is knowing and doing what is right; respect, which is treating others the way you want to be treated; responsibility, which is embracing opportunities to contribute; and servant leadership, which is serving the common good. Now, at Autochthonous Assembly, we have a couple of goals here. And our first goal and foremost of the reason why we do everything that we do is to ensure that we help you do your genealogy and connect back to your tribe and find out where you are from. Everything that we do from the standpoint of the Grand Rising Show and all the information that's posted on the website is dedicated to that one specific purpose, helping you find your genealogy, find your relatives, find your family so that you will know exactly who you are. And if you choose to, tie back into your tribe, whether that tribe is a Native American tribe, an American Indian tribe, whether it's allowing you to determine which house in Africa that you belong to, or what clan of Scandinavia or Europe or France that you belong to. Either way, our goal is to do just that, help you find out who you are so you know exactly where to start. We are not here to tell you who you are, and we're not here to tell you who you are not. We're just here to help you discover your beginnings. Another one of our missions is to help you become financially independent so that you can help your generations for the next 7 generations and be able to put a stable foundation for you and your relatives. And if you should choose to use this information that we provide free of charge to help not only yourself, but your community and your tribe, then we will do everything in our power to make sure that gets done as well. And remember, our goal here is to make sure that we help you get exposed to this information to put you in the best situation possible. So now what I'm going to do now is return it back over to the panel to see if there was anything I missed, and I will go ahead and get set up so we can get ready and get digging into this information. Panel, take it away.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.
Rising. Grand Rising. Hope
Grand
everybody's doing
Rising,
well.
everyone.
Grand Rising, everyone.
Yeah, I broke the music again. Bones is fixing it.
Why
So
you
we
always breaking stuff?
look. Don't do that. Don't do that. I'm not really breaking stuff. I just be breaking stuff.
The background music should be ready to go.
Okay, dokie.
Hold on. You don't really be breaking stuff. You just be breaking stuff.
Man, just greet everybody while I turn this music on. I'm going on mute.
Okay. Greet everybody. Grand Rising, everyone. Hope you all rested well and hope you rose in this day as the sunshines you are.
So, how was your day, Gabrielle?
My day was filled with very interesting my day was filled with very interesting things. Today is definitely hopeful for new interesting things.
They say sounds interesting. Now let me stop.
How was your day?
They just voice talking about some fat fingers because my head I didn't reset it and yeah, guy was still playing. Yeah.
Busy.
Oh yeah.
Paperwork and behind the scenes. We're basically getting everything buttoned up on the website to make sure everything is up to par at our new home. Uh, I know if people have been logging on, you can see the new graphics and motions and stuff that's been added to the website. Basically, since we got the structure up now, bringing in all the bells and whistles for the relatives.
Absolutely. That's awesome. Really, really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Basically.
Look.
you're doing
And so this is a parody, so don't nobody get offended. Well, I don't care. Anyway, but this is a parody.
Evo started talking.
Oh, and I seen some questions one question I missed yesterday before I got off. Basically, the new player, it works just like Ant TV. The difference between this player, instead of having to have a bunch of videos, replays piling up at the bottom, and knowing that we do 5 shows a week, that the load on the website would have been heavy. So the best thing was to get a whole separate on-demand player, so all the shows are on demand and you can watch it at any time, and it does not eat up no extra bandwidth, and it does not slow down your computer or phones or the website.
So I'm gonna say this, and this is a parody off of something that somebody else said on another site, but I definitely understand. Right now, we in a prime position. Bones, and when I say Bones, I don't mean we, I mean Bones. Bones has put a lot of stuff in play for Tightness Assembly. And at this particular point in time, I understand people got lives, and I understand people got things to do. Okay. But I know some of our habits have been proven to be indicative that we spend 3 to 4 hours watching other people talk. I know that for a fact. Don't make me pull a Google records on your butt. So I'm saying that to say this. Now's the time to contribute if you want to, because you have say. If we do not have enough people helping, we're gonna have to get outsiders to help. I hear people say we want to help. I get all that, but this is volunteer, and we can't tell you what to do. So you need to tell us what you can do, so we can put you in a position to get it done. Because what I'm not gonna hear, and that's the reason why I'm saying this so it can be recorded. Because if somebody say something they dare open their mouth, I will slap them with a recorder, literally and figuratively. I don't want to hear, well, y'all done changed. Y'all ain't getting the community a chance to do nothing. We were here from the beginning, when it's the same people, and I'm talking about the same people that are on the chat, the same people that are in the silent majorities. They're behind the scenes doing the work. This is an opportunity for you to make your voice heard, for your community to get out there. If you're not reaching out to us,
don't get mad if new people start coming in, they start doing something, and y'all still out there not being heard from. So y'all heard it here first. This January 23rd, 2020. I don't want to hear nobody's mouth. I'm not in the mood. I'm really not in the mood. You say you want something. You say you want to make a change. You got to be a part of the change. Because I'm going to tell you like this. I don't care if everybody unsubscribes right now. My community's going to be fine. Bones community's going to be fine. Sellouts community's going to be fine. Everybody that's about the Talk to the Symphony's community's going to be fine. It's your community's going to be hurt. So if you're really serious about helping your community, then we need to hear from you. If you're not, I don't care. So with that being said, peace and grand rising, everybody.
No, but it was needed because that is the truth. Is that if we have the tools, people have to start using them and speaking up and using them. Or what we build, what are we building for if people not going to use it to move themselves forward and their communities forward? I mean, we have a real opportunity here, and it's going to move forward. Just letting anybody know we have a real opportunity.
And I was hesitant to give out the website yesterday, Bones, and because we was talking about this rising, because I want to give people the opportunity to get first dibs on what's going on. Because once we start turning this over to our communities, it's a wrap. People are going to start introducing individuals. People are going to start introducing businesses. And then all of a sudden, people are going to be running their mouth. I don't want to hear your mouth. I don't want to hear your mouth. I was sitting on the board of directors meeting yesterday talking about having a housing authority. And now all of a sudden people want me to do their public speaking engagements for pay. And I'm not saying it to be bragging. I'm saying it to say this. Once this information gets out in our communities, it's going to explode. And I don't want anybody to feel like they're getting left out. I don't want anybody to feel like, well, we didn't tell you and you didn't have an opportunity to take advantage, or, we left you out. To make a long story short, we've been leaving the Zoom number up, that number that's on the screen, that's 669-900-6833 with the meeting ID of 267-93044 # up all night. Some of y'all have called in, most of y'all haven't. Again, we say everything and do everything for a reason, because what you're not going to do and what you're not going to say is that we didn't give you an opportunity. Because I will slap you with a video. Y'all know proof is not a problem around here. Because I'm waiting for somebody. I'm itching for somebody to defame anything that A2 was doing. I will own you. This is an opportunity for us to do something great for our community, and people sitting on their hands. So this ain't passion, this is pissed. There's a difference.
And relatives, look at it this way. Autonomous Assembly is a nonprofit organization. It was designed for you. It was designed to help you. It was designed to be there. So that way, when the American Indian need that shining light or that reminder or that beacon, it's there. But then again, if we don't use it, what does it become? I mean, again, this is our opportunity. I don't know no other way of saying it. It's what we're doing today is putting ourselves in position to improve our communities, to improve our situations, to leave a legacy. I mean, if you really try it, this is your opportunity.
So now that we're hitting with the wake up call. Grand Rising. Hope everybody's doing well. Want to say shout out, peace and bliss. Peace and bliss to the new subscribers to AttackThisAssembly.com, to the new subscribers of the YouTube channel, Talk to This Assembly YouTube, and the Cap Grand Rising YouTube show. Peace and grand rising to the silent majority. Thank you for allowing your actions to speak. Even though we can't hear you, we still see you. Peace and grand rising to the best chat on earth. Do what you do. If somebody's claiming to be a leader, they can prove it. If they can't prove it, they ain't saying nothing. That's just my mentality. So at the end of the day, it's be about putting in work, about helping. So there's a lot of volunteer hours that go into this. But there's not going to be always a situation where this is going to be volunteer. These positions will end up being paid positions. People will be able to have careers and help their family off of this. Don't get left out. It doesn't cost anything to help yourself, your community, your people. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, like Bones always says, the question that you're going to have to answer, what did you do with your time and your talent? So time for the roll call. Peace and grand rising to Big Nelsa. Peace and grand rising to Celestial Love. Peace and grand rising to Copper Color Ancestors. Sister, not sisters. I put an S on a woman name. I'm sorry, my apologies. Peace and grand rising to that boy Wig. Hold on. Peace and grand rising to Nature's Void, aka that dude with the padded bus coming to pick up Gabby. Peace and grand rising to Phoenix Rose, aka Vang Rames. Peace and grand risings to T Tiny 04044 from Buffalo. What else we got? Peace and grand rising to Feather Dragon. Peace and grand rising to Michael Harris Brown Cheek, aka the YouTube Assassin. If I left out your name, please forgive me. And for the record, that rant was not directed at anybody specifically. I'm not calling anybody out. I'm just saying everybody know their situation. I don't know your situation. I don't know what you're able to do, and I don't know what you're not able to do. But as LJ Free would say, I'm not talking to you unless it's you. So if you got hit by a rock and you holler, then I'm talking to you. If I threw the rock and you saw it go by, and I ain't talking to you, don't respond in defense, because I'm not talking about you. So, just want to put that out there. Grand Rising.
Oh, before I forget,
go ahead.
Celestial Love, I'll be reaching out, contacting you next week, because I'll be down in the Fort Lauderdale area. I got an engagement. I got to go down there and work with some people on some HUD stuff, a couple of family members. So when I get down there, I'll link you up, because they're supposed to be doing something down there. Once I get the information, I'll pass it off to you. But it'll be next week.
No sell out. What the deal, Pickles? Everything kosher? Is that patented? I know a comedian that says that.
It might be patented. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Grand
Rising, y'all.
Double cousin.
Oh, hey, Gabrielle. How you doing? I didn't know you was on the call. What you doing? How y'all doing?
Really?
We live?
Yes, we live. Wet Mike.
I heard Kevin
live.
Durant.
We live.
Just put a napkin on it. Just put a napkin on it.
You heard what?
You said something about Kevin Durant when I got on the call.
Ain't nobody
You
said
heard
about no
what?
nigga Kevin Durant. Don't do that.
Sorry for his injury or something. What, he ain't playing or something?
No,
He said, sorry for Durant.
don't do that. Don't do that.
What?
Don't do that. Don't do that.
What didn't happen?
Nah, it's just, I went to a meeting yesterday. It was a board meeting, and started talking about the census. And these are county officials and public officials, and I'm just in awe. And I'm sure it's the same thing that James Flames be feeling when he goes and does this stuff, and everybody else that's out there that's in their community doing stuff. I'm in awe and disappointed, because they didn't know what was going on. Some of these people have been in office and been in these positions since before I was born, and I'm not a young dude.
The city council?
Council people that sit on council boards, people that sit on boards. I mean, people don't know.
Oh, my Lord. I'm going on mute.
Grand Rising, EJ Coppertone. So it's like, I'm talking and I'm telling them about, asking about the census, Tell them about how important the census is and how HUD has all these pots of money that people aren't accessing, and why people are investing in our communities from other countries, and why we don't have the money, and why there's gentrification. And they just looking at me. And when I got finished talking, it was like, now they're up and at 'em, and everybody want my contact information. And my phone's been blowing up this morning already. I had to turn it off because people want to do something. And I'm thinking, okay, if I give, with the area that I live in, and please understand, I'm not saying this to make anybody feel bad, or I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to give you a perspective of where I'm coming from, so you can understand the magnitude. Where I live, 3 of the wealthiest counties in the United States are within a 30-mile radius of where I live. Meaning the household median income is well over in excess of $180,000 a year. I want this information to be able to help the people that it's going to be able to benefit. I don't want this information to go out and create more corporations for exploitation. That's the reason why I'm frustrated. Because I know there are people in your communities that need this information. There are people in your areas, in your cities, that need this information. Where I live is good. It's cool. I mean, there's poverty here. But, we're right next door to D.C. There's a lot of government, quote-unquote, good government jobs and things of that nature. And the moment that we release this information, I tell them about autonomous assembly, we'll be able to do a lot of things. Bones going to Fort Lauderdale. Fort Lauderdale is pretty much a similar situation. You start getting involved with politicians and stuff like that, we'll have access to a lot of stuff, but we don't want to leave y'all out. And we don't want it to be a situation where they go, well, they didn't win commercial, they didn't win corporate. I'm telling you right now, this is the time for everybody to hit the ground running while it still is basically a grassroots movement. So I don't want to hear nobody's mouth. Don't be emailing me talking about A2 this and A2 that, because I promise you'll wish you never emailed me. You'll wish you'll never called me. Because I'm telling you now, January 23rd, 2020, stop playing with this. And I'm only talking about you if this is about you. I'm not talking about you if this is not about you. So what we're about to embark on is nothing to play with. This will go from 0 to 5,000 so quick it's gonna make your head spin. So now is the time to do something to get active. And here's the thing that I find sad and disheartening. There is no charge to register on the website. There's no charge to get involved with your community. There's no charge to get this information. So there is no excuse. If you can't do it, find some people that can. Okay, that's all I got to say about that. I'm done. Anybody? Okay.
Remember, this is your organization, but it's only yours when you use it, when you're a part of it.
Big Nelson said, I got my people on it. Exactly. Get your people on it. It don't matter if you can do something. If you can't, find some people that can. So
It's going to take as many of us as possible that are willing to access this information and spread this information amongst our people in our communities. The more of us that are informed, the better our chances are. The more of us that build these institutions and companies that can access this funding to rebuild the American Indian, the urban American Indians communities, the better our chances are. Think about it. We go through the list and you're looking at the contractors, you don't see too many of us. What Gabrielle found out, there's only one contractor in her whole area, just one. We talk about $1 million, multi-million dollar grants that all you have to do is put yourself in position. But we're willing to go out and spend hundreds on lottery tickets to hope we get a magic number.
Copper Color Ancestor rose a great point, and I'm glad you rose this point. Was that right? Raised this point. She says, how do you reach your people when the town is ran by white Baptists and there aren't any city leaders that resemble you? My plan is to move back home after my daughter graduates this year. So, Copper Color Ancestors, great question. You find the people that want to do something. You find the people that can do something. I wouldn't worry about the people who are in office right now. What you want to do, even if you don't do anything but get it started, because after you leave, that town, that city, that area is still going to need some help. Again, just talk to people about the census. Talk to people about the funds and where these funds are going. You will find somebody that cares. And show them this information. Again, your job is to expose it. Your job is not to make people see it. There's a difference. It's like somebody come to you and go, I'm thirsty. Well, here's some water. Nah, I want that. Okay, you sure? Because it'll help you, it'll revive you. Nah, I'm good. Okay. Well, if you want some water, it's right here. That don't mean you take the ladle, shove it down their throat. You run a fire hose down them and make them drink it. You expose them to the information. You find those individuals, and you work with those individuals that want to do something, regardless of what their race or nationality is. Because at the end of the day, this information is going to help and benefit everybody. So, look for people that look like you, that are willing to hear what you have to say, and that are willing to do something. Then move from there. Again, you don't have to be what's the best way to put it? You don't have to walk around with a picket sign. Just reach out to people and talk to them about the best topic to get started with is the census. And then from the
Perfect
census,
example.
go ahead, Bones.
Here in my city, I didn't run out pushing American Indian genealogy on everybody. I did it in reverse. I let people know that there were programs that we can fix our community, that there's grants and funding that we can access. And by holding them conversations, it allowed me later on, hey, by the way, have you ever checked out your genealogy? Find out, are you a descendant of American Indian? Because I already addressed their major issue, their everyday needs. You know what I'm saying? Leading them to stuff that can take that extra pressure and pain. Also, now they have that free time to invest in finding out who they are. I mean, sometimes we have to, as a people, we got to help and address our needs. And then by addressing our needs, it allows us to have the other conversations. I mean, let's be honest. A lot of our people are in situations to where they're struggling so much, they don't have 5, 10, 15 minutes. By these programs and these industry can set up all back time to find out where they are, where they come from. If you use it, they know it's them. Like, the moment we impose, we are no different than the people that we say that we're not. We become the colonizer when we impose our culture and our lifestyle on everybody else.
Exactly. And to answer another question you might be thinking, but you don't know how to ask it. Where do you start? You start with the problems that exist that are most prominent in your community. You start with the problems that are most prominent in your community. What challenges are you seeing that are affecting you directly or the people in your neighborhood directly? That's where you start.
I can give another example.
Go ahead.
When James first let us know about the information and we were setting this up, one of the main issues we had here was the children playing and people decided to come down our street wanting to speed. So as a community, we got together with our own funds as a community to see what we can do to put speed bumps to slow down the speed on our street. And by doing that, by addressing that, all of us got children, And we all want to see our children grow to be old and outlive us. That allowed me to be able to start talking to my neighbors about American Indian, about their genealogy, by addressing a common issue, whether they were Indian, German, French, Spanish. At the end of the day, we all had a common interest, the protection of our children. You get what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying again. Sometimes it helps when you address actual issues as a community that the whole community is facing, that y'all can come together and fix. You'll be surprised the difference it makes among people. You'll be surprised how others who don't look like you, who don't have your history, are more willing to listen to you and work with you. I'm around people that 3 years ago, I would see these people be like, nah, there's no way I would have a conversation with them. Some of them I'm on the phone with 2-3 hours a day on what we can bring next or what programs we can find. We got to stop being afraid to talk to people, and especially people who don't look like us. There's nothing to fear. Danger is real, but fear was given to you. Don't fear no man or no woman. Ask a question. Reach out. See the world.
Exactly. So, Bones, we had a conversation. All of us had a conversation. And we always, we talked about, the different sections of HUD 3. Or just the different sections. Those sections are nothing more, and I'm not saying this to make a disparaging remark or anything like that. Those sections are nothing more than sections coming from the Fair Housing Act. Section 9, Section 3, Section 1, Section 440. These are all parts of the Fair Housing Act. This is where our laws come from. So I was able to pull up the PDF that has all the sections dealing with HUD or dealing with our people. And Bones, how many did you see that there were?
I stopped at 800.
$800 sections. So let's just say there is a pot or pots of funding in a quarter of those sections. That's 200 pots of money for everybody's community that are not being accessed by any of us.
Bingo.
People under the mistake that there's one big pot and there's not.
There's hundreds of them. And remember, this is just HUD funding. We ain't even go through all the different USDA fundings or community block grant fundings. A HOPE program funding.
And the more that I learned, thanks to James, I see why he goes so hard in the paint. I see why he has a problem with scammers, because this is nothing to play with.
This affects real lives on a major level. You allow scammers to do this, this ruins whole communities for how many years?
The whole backbone of our economy runs on these funds.
Yep.
I'm going to say it again. The whole backbone of our economy. Now, when I say our, I don't mean just American Indian, Aboriginal people, African American, or whatever we want to label or mislabel ourselves as. I'm talking about the whole country. Our whole country runs off of HUD and the programs associated and tied into HUD. This is not a game. So now you can understand, if you were listening and paying attention, now you understand my sense of urgency, Bone's sense of urgency, Gabrielle's sense of urgency, Docella's sense of urgency, why we are putting this information out. Because I don't want to hear nobody mouth about, well, we didn't know. That will never be your excuse when it comes to Tasha's Assembly. And I wish somebody would say something like that. Excuses have been eliminated. The questions now should be, how can I do this in my community? How can we do this with our families? How can we do this with our children? How can we do this? That should be the questions now. If you can't do it, find somebody who can. That's all I'm saying. I'm only talking to you if it's you. I'm only talking about you if it's you. If this doesn't apply to you, meaning for whatever reason you're not able to do it, I'm not talking about you. But guilty conscience will come forward. So,
I mean, that's why here with the television, with Ain't TV and Air, American Indian Radio, it's why we opened it up and let the community know, like, listen, if y'all develop content, video content, and you don't want to deal with YouTube, you have a platform, but you have to let us know. Send it to us, we'll get it there. If people in the community want to run radio programs, want to be DJs, board mixers, let us know. Relatives, we have a radio station. Relatives, we have a television network. The community has first dibs for these spots and placements, because phase 2 is filling up with content. We're filling up with content because the next phase is to go after the advertisers. We're not dealing with no middleman. We are negotiating for what it is that we need as a community. But like TMA said, we have to use it now. Because if not, once it start rolling, high-end people start coming in, people want to place commercials. We're not trying to leave nobody behind, but if you don't move forward, there's nothing that we can do. Again, this is built for you, but it only works if you use it.
So, Bones, you were bringing to our attention about a program that you had been looking for a while, and I know that you and James were in the chat, and I know Gabriella and Nocella were back there as well. I wasn't able to get on, but can you, or would you do me a favor, and explain that a little bit so we can discuss that?
Yeah, most definitely. Well, the community should be familiar with all the HUD Section 3 videos that we released and a lot of the builds we did on HUD Section 3 so far. And a lot of people had a question about the contractors. Well, relatives, we bring you great news this rising. We have the contractors list and how to get on the contractors list for this HUD 3 section funding to be a part of these grants that are being awarded. Again, we have access to the subcontractors list and how to get on there moving forward as HUD Section 3 businesses.
So can you
now what y'all want to do?
So can you, in layman's terms, explain what that means?
Yeah, that 500, that close to $250 million that we heard New York got. So for our relatives that's in New York, they can use this information to set up their companies to start being subcontractors, making themselves available for this funding. Again, using this information, when these housing authorities are getting this HUD funding, they're supposed to give a percentage of it to HUD Section 3 businesses. They're supposed to hire a percentage of HUD Section 3 residents. Now, relatives, you put your stuff in order. You can hire these people. You can start bidding on this funding. You can be awarded subcontractor contracts from HUD to rebuild your community, to hire people from your community. Matter of fact, we got the cheat code, y'all. What y'all gonna do?
Got that tips and tricks book.
It got real now. You know that, right? I'm laughing because this is what my mentors taught me a long time ago. See, as long as I can blame somebody else for the problem, I don't have to worry about a solution. As long as I can say it's the white man's fault, it's the Pan-African fault, it's the Aboriginal fault, it's the Ku Klux Klan fault, it's my boss fault, it's my husband's fault, my wife's fault, my girlfriend's fault, my boyfriend's fault, it's anybody else's fault but mine, then I don't have to worry about a solution. The moment all the excuses are taken away, and now it's like, no, you can do this. Oh, quiet. See, because now, what was once difficult to find, or what was not able to be found, is found. Now, we really have no excuses. So at the end of the day, you gonna do something, or you're not. So, that's all.
It's like that now.
We can always read in history and get together and feel good when we come across the great things our ancestors have done. Relatives, don't you think it's our time to step up in the sun and do something great to put our legacy in stone, to leave our mark in history? So moving forward, those will always have a reminder of what the American Indian can accomplish when the American Indian decides to be. We done talked about it. Most of us done dreamed about it. We're in that moment. Let's create it and let's make the world bear witness to our greatness. Not to say that we're better, but it's for the love of our people, for the love of our ancestors, our future, each other. Relatives, we have been all over this planet. We have been everything everybody else wanted us to be. We have done everything everybody have asked us to be. Don't you think it's about time for us to do for us to be us? Turn off the distractions. Step away from the noise. We all hear it. It's why we here now. A part of us remember. A part of us know. So let's complete our mission. We are here for a real reason, a real purpose, my brothers and sisters. Let's complete it. We stand in this together with a chance, not to just open the door, to take the door completely off the hinges and rebuild a new one. And we are not alone. There's millions of us out here. We just have to talk to each other. We just have to take the time to realize we have all been told a lie. We have all lived this lie. We are all guilty of that. But we have a chance not to be right, but to get it right before our story closes, our chapter in our history. Or are we going to choose to let someone else write it? Or are we going to choose to let someone else build it? We came in with a bang, my brothers and sisters. So let's make sure we go out with one that can never be put out, that can never be forgotten, that will be remembered forever in the pages of history. that our children in their darkest hours can read of our success, and it will always light their way. We are the ones. We will complete this task. And I am so honored to be here with you, my brothers and sisters. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you.
So right now, what I'm doing is I'm putting in the PDF books, one for capital funding that shows you how to create your own housing authority. And the other one I'm putting in is the PDF, what I call the coup de grace. Don't ask me to spell it. Do not ask me to spell it. Which is the book that breaks down all of the sections. And I'm gonna pull them up. Bones, unless there's something that you wanna talk about or you wanna go over.
No, we can start getting into them. That's perfect.
And you can find these PDFs up under HUD facts and PDFs, up under the HUD section in the form. Again, this is public information. We did not invent or create any of this information. We're just exposing. So, I don't want anybody's mouth. Today's not the day to play with me. And leave it to David Corey that says spell that. THAT. Grand Rising Pamela Hall. Grand Rising David Corey. Grand Rising Mayan Sun 0911. Anybody else that I forgot or didn't mention? Alright, so it's time for me to pull up the PDF. I'll be able to share it. Like we've always told you. Again, I want to give a shout out to James Flames, aka Choctaw Jimmy, aka Doodle Vision. He introduced this information to us, 6-7 months ago? Was it, Bones?
Mm-hmm.
There's some people that's been knowing about this 6-7 years. So just because you first, that don't mean being first is a good thing. Grand Rising Power 10-9. Grand Rising, Mr. TJ, Ratchet Man. If I didn't speak to you earlier, my apologies. Grand Rising Macadon 1. Sometimes being first ain't good. I'm just here to tell you. You could have been the first to fail. The first to sell out. The first to kill your own people. The first to be responsible for the selling out of your own people. First ain't always good. I'm just saying. Let's see. Yes, there it is. Gabrielle Union, what's going on in your world, young lady?
Stars and quasars.
Copper Color Ancestor says, what? Create my own housing authority? Yes, Copper Color Ancestor. Create your own housing
Yes,
authority.
you can. We can get together and create our own housing authorities for our own people. We can create our own structures for our elderly. We can create our own structures for our disabled. Yep.
Let's go ahead and hit this clock so we can get to getting. Let's go. All right, let's go.
Okay, can you put that link in the chat again? Cause I don't know, something's going on. Maybe I got a delay.
No, I didn't put the link in the chat. I'm actually pulling up the PDF. So, let me
Oh,
pull it up
okay.
via the website. I'm glad you said that because I was just gonna go in and people would be like, I can't find it. It's called the United States Housing Act of 1937, as amended by the Quality Housing and Works Responsibility Act of 1998, as of 3/2/1999. Hold on. And does anybody recall around this time what we were being referred to at that time, as far as our nationality? Is this when we was going by octoroon, quadrant, all other crazy mess? Hold on. Where's the PDF? Yep, there it is. So now I can get y'all the link. It's interesting. It's archived. So it's archived under archives.financialservices.house.gov/banking. Is it just me or is that interesting?
Very.
So what I just put in the link is the PDF that gives you a list of all of the sections to the United States Housing Act of 1937, which is where HUD Section 3, HUD Section 8, and all that good stuff comes from. Okay. So it is 224 pages. Here's the table of contents, starting from Section 1. Feather Dragon said, TMH, what happened? Used to be the fastest finger in the South. Man, my keyboard, remember my keyboard broke. We're going to blame Gabrielle for me spilling coffee on it. Anyway.
Okay, you still got them wipes?
Huh?
You blaming me, dang it.
Yeah, I mean, it's technically not your fault. Theoretically, it's your fault. So that's what we're going with. Okay. Table of contents. So these are all of this. This is a list of all the sections under the housing, the Fair Housing Act, or the United States Housing Act of 1937. So you have everything from the short title, which is Section 1, Section 2, Declaration of Policy and Public Housing Agency Organization, Section 3, HUD Section 3, Rental Payments Definitions, Section 4, Loans and Lower Income Housing Projects, Section 5, Contribution for Lower Income Housing Projects, Section 5A, Public Housing Agency Plans, Section 6, Contract Provisions and Requirements. This is what Bones is talking about. Section 7, Designated Housing for Elderly and Disabled Families. That's why you see all these housing units going up, because the baby boomers are getting older. They're starting to retire and they want to downsize because these big houses that they have are no longer conducive for them, because their families have families and they're not living with them anymore. So that's why you see all of these housing projects pop up. If I'm not mistaken, James Flame was responsible for getting some in his community. Section 8, lower income housing assistance. We've heard of that before, right? Lower income housing assistance. Section 9, public housing capital and operating funds. You've heard of that, right? Section 10, general provisions. Section 11, financing lower income housing projects. So look at this. Section 8, right? That is lower income housing assistance. Section 11 is financing lower income housing projects. Why
Yes.
is Section 11 and Section 8 not mentioned together?
On purpose. And why you grow up only knowing about Section 8. We on 11, y'all. Keep game.
Section 12, labor standards and community service requirements. Section 13, consortia, joint ventures, affiliates, and subsidiaries of public housing agencies. Section 14, repeal public housing moderation. So that was repealed. Section 15, payment of non-federal share. Section 16, eligibility for assisted housing. Section 16. Wouldn't you think that Section 16, Section 11, and Section 8 would go together? Why do we only hear about Section 8?
They want to keep you with rental.
Section 17, rental rehabilitation and development grants. Section 18, demolition and disposition of public housing. Section 19, financing limitations. Section 20, public housing resident management. Section 21, public housing ownership and management opportunities. Why is not Section 21, Section 20, Section 17, Section 11, and Section 8 not together? We only know about Section 8.
I wonder why.
Read that section one more time for those that's way back there. The last one you read.
Section 21, public housing ownership and management opportunities.
Ownership and management opportunities? That means you get the opportunity to own and manage your own?
Public housing.
Wait a minute. Is that what that means?
'23. The one thing that we always talk about that we're about when it comes to Titans Assembly. 23. Family Self-Sufficiency Program. 24. Demolition site revitalization, replacement housing, and tenant-based assistance grants for projects. So, once you demolish something in Section 18, there is a fund to do what? Revitalize the site, replace the housing, and tenant-based assistance grants and for projects. Section 25, transfer of management of certain housing to independent manager at request of residents. I'm going to read that again. Transfer of management of certain housing to independent manager at request of residents. 26, environmental reviews. Section 27, provisions of information to law enforcement and other agencies. There are provisions for law enforcement and other agencies? Section 28, exchange of information with law enforcement agencies. Are you being funny? Hold on.
Think about it. And most of these housing authorities, they have police subdivisions and stuff in there. Now you know why.
Can y'all hear me okay now? Am I coming through louder?
Uh-huh.
Hold on.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Where we at?
Police provisions.
Yeah, okay. Section 29. Public housing. Hold on. Section 29. Civil money penalties against Section 8 owners. What? Hold on. Civil money penalties against Section 8 owners. David Corey's.
Oh, so there's a Section 8 owner that's in violation of the act. There's a civil. Oh, checks and balances.
Section 30. Public housing mortgages and securities interests. Sounds like some investment opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
Section 31. Pet ownership in public housing. Did y'all know y'all can own pets in public housing? Section 32. Resident ownership programs. Stop.
Summertime.
Come on, man. Come on. This is ridiculous.
Not ownership.
Resident ownership programs.
Like owner.
Owner. Section 33. Required conversion of distressed public housing to tenant-based assistance. Section 34. Services for public housing residents. Are y'all starting to see that there's so much assistance for public housing residents through these PIH codes? This is where your gentrification comes in. Section 35. Mixed finance public housing. Once gentrification takes place, these entities come in and you have different races of different people and different financial backgrounds all living under one roof. Generally on top of stores, shops, and places of that nature. This is what we're going
New York City. New York City.
Title 2 got repealed. Title 3. Hope for public housing ownership. Section 301. Program authority. Section 302. Planning grants. Section 303. Implementation grants. Section 304. Home ownership program requirements. Section 305. Other program requirements. So you mean to tell me that they're letting you know what the requirements are for these programs? Section 306. Definitions. Section 307. Relationship to other home ownership opportunities. Come on, man. Section 308. Limitation on selection criteria. Section 309. Annual report. Title 4. Home Rule Flexible Grant Demonstration. Section 401 gives you the purpose of that home rule. Section 402, Flexible Grant Program. Section 403, Program Allocation and Covered Housing Assistance. Section 404, Applicability of Requirements under Programs for Covered Housing Assistance. Section 405, Program Requirements. Section 406, Application for the Program Requirements. Section 407, Training. Section 408, Accountability. Section 409, Definitions. Section 410, Termination and Evaluation. Section 411 or 411, Applicability. Feather Dragon brought up a great point. Feather Dragon said,
yes, he
why
did.
They try so hard to keep us out the game. Feather Dragon, they don't have to try to keep us out the game. We keep ourselves out the game.
By believing what we were told. Believing not to look at HUD. Believing Section 8 is all they had, but numbers don't start at 8. I'm just saying.
Here's the funny thing. Doodle Vision has been screaming, literally screaming about this information for 15 years. 15 years. Might as well say 16 now. So you might as well say since 2004, he's been sharing this with people outside of his immediate sphere of influence. Do some type of media or social media.
Some of these same people that's on these channels telling you the BS today.
Some of these same people telling you don't be counted and be added to the census. This is all I got to say about that. We have no excuses now. Bones, how long did it take you to find that link for the contractors? How long?
I want to say I've been looking about 3 months. I want to say
3 months you've been looking for that link, and you found it.
mm-hmm.
I was
gonna give up, so I did.
Right, and I've been looking for this link for the sections literally for 2 days. So 2 days, 3 months and 2 days. And we have people out here believing that you have to go make some daggone declaration or claim something that you're not, or you can't prove through your genealogy, aka family tree, to demand to make the government, who has access to the largest military in the world, whose military actually sits on 90% of the land in the world. You're gonna make the government give you something because you got some magic beans and some magic words, and you're gonna stand on a magic square using a magic document to give you some magic money. And if you don't go sit your tail down somewhere and take several seats, you better.
And Frederick Dragon, his next statement even sums it up. You thinking the game rigged against you, but not realizing it's rigged for you to win.
Exactly.
But you can't win if you're sitting on the bench.
Man, people ain't even sitting on the bench. They outside the stadium scalping tickets. Literally.
Dang. MLK told you. He told you that he led you to the mountaintop. He ain't going to be able to go on the other side with you. But he led you there. Now you have to do the work.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we bring you the mountaintop. The United States Housing Act of 1937, as amended. This is a mountaintop. This is what our ancestors worked hard for us to know and to have access to. Copper Color Ancestor says, okay, I need to have a meeting with a few people so they can hear this. Exactly. We're not saying this so people don't know. As many people that know about these programs, the better. The more people that know, the better.
Facts.
This is not something that needs to be hidden.
Tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend to tell a friend.
So, I mean, we would do all we can to help you. We're not going to do it for you, but we would do everything we can to help you. You have the information now. So basically what it boils down to, exactly, Copper Color Ancestor, he said the Negro is exiled from his own land, was exiled in his own land. HUD, or the United States Housing Act, and HUD what will allow us to mind our business and take care of our families and become self-sufficient. We don't have to overthrow no government. We don't have
Nope.
we don't have to turn in our social security numbers. We don't have to turn in our
Nope.
birth certificates. We don't have to
Nope.
go petition. We don't have to do any of that. All we have to do is access what's in our communities now. This is the stuff that you can do right now.
Yep.
Michael Harris Brown Chick says, nah, T and Major Bones. We ask you where the tick is at watching others play the game.
Think about it. You have the ability to rebuild your communities, even build new communities. It's there. But who can you blame if you don't access it and use it?
Nobody. Not a soul.
Who can you blame when we live in communities where we don't participate in the voting of our representation and they never tell you anything about it? We got to be more active, especially with our representation. Come on, you trying to tell me somebody is representing you and you ain't going to have a conversation with them? That's like having a lawyer to defend you, but y'all never spoke. How that's going to work? It don't.
Jail time.
And think about it. Not having that conversation with your representation, jail time. Because you still stuck in the same situation. Locked out. All it takes is a conversation. You had the information on what's there. Now you know how to put it together. So you can pass it through. You know what questions to ask. You know who to go to when you ask them questions and they not even answered correctly or they don't have information. The only thing that's missing, honestly, is our action. Everything else is there. We missing from the table.
So so we're gonna go into a little bit of these see what we got with these Housing Act, these sections. Let's see. Let's look at section 4, Bones. Loans for lower income housing projects.
Let's do it.
Page 4. They don't make this like it's hard to find. Hold on. Come in, don't make views. All right. So this is the declaration. This is section 2, Declaration of Policy and Public Housing Agency. So let's see what they got to say. Now this is the actual act. Declaration of Policy. It is a policy of the United States to promote the general welfare of the nation by employing the funds and credit of the nation as provided in this act. A, to assist states and political subdivisions of states to remedy the unsafe housing conditions and the acute shortage of decent and safe dwellings for low-income families. B, to assist states and political subdivisions of states to address the shortage of housing affordable to low-income families. And C, consistent with the objectives of this title, to vest in public housing agencies that perform well the maximum amount of responsibility and flexibility in program administration with appropriate accountability to public housing, residents, localities, and other general public. Here's the important part. This is the reason why we talk about having your own housing authority, because this is what they want you to do. It says, consistent with the objectives of this title, to vest in public housing agencies that perform well. Well, where does the public housing agencies come from? Who creates them? You do. Judo Vision says sweat equity. Exactly. So, number 2, the federal government cannot, through its direct action alone, provide for the housing of every American citizen or even a majority of its citizens, but it is a responsibility of the government to promote and protect the independent and collective actions of private citizens to develop housing and strengthen their own neighborhoods. I'm going to say that again. The federal government cannot, through its own direct action, meaning, even though the Constitution is the law of the land, the federal government cannot, through its own direct action alone, provide for housing of every American citizen or even a majority of its citizens, but it is the responsibility of the government to promote and protect the independent and collective actions of private citizens to develop housing and strengthen their own neighborhoods. Their job is merely to promote and protect, not to provide.
Who neighborhood? Who neighborhood again?
Our own neighborhoods.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Private citizens to develop housing. Private citizens to develop housing and strengthen their own neighborhoods. Number 3, that the federal government should act where there is a serious need that private citizens or groups cannot or are not addressing responsibly. And
Hold up. One more time, please.
Number 3, the federal government should act where there is a serious need that private citizens or groups cannot or are not addressing responsibly.
So now, do you see why it's different with these HUD programs and offices in our neighborhood? Because we fail to act, the federal government has to come in as babysitters and do it for us. Because we're not doing it for ourselves.
Number 4, that our nations should promote the goal of providing decent and affordable housing for all citizens through the efforts and encouragement of federal, state, and local government, and by independent and collective actions of private citizens, organizations, and the private sector. Local governments, independent and collective actions of private citizens, organizations, and private sectors. Exactly, Macadam, when we've been acting like minorities. Required membership. Except as provided in paragraph 2, the membership of the board of directors or similar governing body of each public housing agency shall contain no less than 1 member, who is directly assisted by the public housing agency, who may, if provided for the public housing agency plan, be elected by the residents directly assisted by the public housing agency. 2. Exception. Paragraph 1 shall not apply to any public housing agency, directors, or similar governing body of the public housing agency to be salaried and or to serve on a full-time basis or with less than 300 public housing units, if the agency has provided reasonable notice to the Resident Advisory Board of the opportunity of not less than one resident described in the paragraph to serve on the board of directors or similar governing body of the public housing agency pursuant to such paragraph, and 2, within a reasonable time after receipt by the Resident Advisory Board established by the agency pursuant to Section 5AE of notice under Clause 1 or Clause I. The Public Housing Agency has not been notified of the intention of any resident or to participate on the Board of Directors. We're supposed to be on a Board of Directors for these things. Non-discrimination. No person shall be prohibited from serving on the board of directors or similar governing bodies of a public housing agency because of the residence of that person in the public housing project or status as assisted under Section 8. So what they're saying is you can't even be prevented from being on a board if you are participating in Section 8. Rental payments definitions. This is covered under Section 3. Dwelling units assisted under this act shall be rented only to families who are low-income families at the time of their initial occupancy of such units. Reviews of family income shall be made at least annually, except as provided in paragraph 2 and subject to the requirement under paragraph 3. A family shall pay rent for a dwelling unit assisted under this act, other than a family assisted under Section 8, or paying rent under Section 8C3B. So wait a minute. There are different levels of low-income family assisted housing. B. The highest of the following amounts rounded to the nearest dollar. A. 30% of the family's monthly adjusted income. B. 10% of the family's monthly income. Or C. If the family is receiving payments for welfare assistance from the public agency and a part of such payment adjusted in accordance with the family's actual housing costs is specifically designated by such agency to meet the family's housing costs, the portion of such payments which is so designated. Rental payment for public housing families, authorities for family to select. So this is basically giving you a definition of what a family is and who qualifies for said payments. No different than who qualifies as a resident, a Section 3 resident, or a Section 9 housing authority. Authority of family to select. A family residing in a public housing dwelling shall pay as monthly rent for the unit the amount determined under the Clause 1 or the Clause 2 of the subparagraph. B. Subject to the requirement under paragraph 3 relating to minimum rents. Each public housing agency shall provide for each family residing in the public housing dwelling unit owned, assisted, or operated by agency to elect annually whether the rent paid by such family shall be determined under Clause 1 or 2 of subparagraph B. A public housing agency may not at any time fail to provide both such rent options for any public housing dwelling unit owned, assisted, or operated by the agency. Townhouses, yeah, they pay anywhere from $3 to $600. Authority to retain flat and ceiling rents. Notwithstanding Clause 1, or notwithstanding Clause I, or any other provision of law, many public housing agencies that is administering flat rents or ceiling rents pursuant to any authority referred to the Section 519D of the Quality Housing of Work Responsibility Act of 1998 before the effective day of such act may continue to charge rent in accordance with such rent provisions after such effective date, except that the agency shall provide for families residing in public housing dwelling units owned or operated by the agency to elect annually whether to pay rent under such provisions or in accordance with one of the rent options referred to in subparagraph A. Basically, this is going over the fact that even though people are under Section 8 or have some subsidy, they should have options on how they pay their rent. Allowable rent structures. B. Except as otherwise provided under this clause, each public housing agency shall establish for each dwelling unit in public housing owned or operated by the agency a flat rental amount for the dwelling unit, which shall 1. Be based on the rental value of the unit as determined by the Public Housing Agency, and be designated in accordance with subparagraph D so that the rent structures do not create a disincentive for continued residency in public housing by families who are attempting to become economically self-sufficient through employment or who have attained a level of self-sufficiency through their own efforts. The rental amount for a dwelling unit shall be considered to comply with the requirements of this clause in such amounts that does not exceed the actual monthly cost of the public housing agency attributable to providing and operating the dwelling unit. So let me go back. And I gotta hit this break. So it reads in subsection 2. Flat rents. A flat rental amount of the dwelling unit shall be designated or designed. Listen to this part. Shall be designed in accordance with subparagraph D, so that the rent structures do not exceed. So the rent structure do not create. That the rent structures do not create a disincentive for continued residency, meaning that these housing authorities do not have the right to dissuade anybody from renting, and family members who are attempting to become economically self-sufficient through either employment or have attained a level of self-sufficiency through their own efforts. So it is illegal to put your property as a housing authority unit in a situation to where you are basically disincentivizing people who are trying to get it right. That's what flat rent means. It means you can't raise the rent to hurt somebody, to get them to move, so you could basically gentrify the area. The rental amount for the dwelling unit shall be considered to comply with the requirements of this clause, and such amount does not exceed the rental actual monthly costs to the public housing agency attributable to providing and operating the dwelling unit. The preceding sentence may not be construed to require establishment of rental amounts equal to or based on operating costs, or prevent public housing agencies from developing flat rents required under this clause in any other manner that may comply with this clause. Basically, they're saying that some people were trying to say, well, it cost me this much to maintain the unit, so I can charge this much. That's not what they're saying. Now you got income-based rents. I'm sure some of you have seen these properties where you have to make a certain amount, or can't make more than a certain amount. In general, the monthly rental amount determined under this clause for a family shall be an amount determined by the public housing agency that does not exceed the greatest of the amounts, rounded to the nearest dollar, determined under subparagraph A, B, and C of the paragraph. This clause may not be construed to require a public housing agency to charge a monthly rent in a maximum amount permitted under this clause. You got people doing so many shicey things. They have to put what you can't do and how you can't read it, so to benefit or to hurt people. And then there's the discretion clause. Subject to limitation on monthly rental amount under this subclause I, a public housing agency may, in its discretion, implement a rent structure under this clause requiring that a portion of the rent be deposited to an escrow or savings account, imposing ceiling rents or adopting income exclusions, such as those set forth in section 3B5B, or may establish another reasonable rent structure or amount. And see, this is how they end up messing people up at discretion. Because if you point out that this is going to be your rental structure and it's based off of discretion, then you can almost in effect not accept vouchers, because now you're making requirements, or there needs to be some type of money that's put in an escrow or some type of an account for savings. And if you structure your contract and people think that this money is not going to you, or is not going to be beneficial, then you are not going to apply. Something to think about. C. Switching rent determination methods because of hardship circumstances. Notwithstanding subparagraph A and the cause of the family that has elected to pay rent in the amount determined under subparagraph BI, a public housing agency shall immediately provide for the family to pay rent in the amount determined under subparagraph BI2. During the period for which such election was made upon a determination that the family is unable to pay the amount determined under subparagraph BI1 because of financial hardship, including situations in which the income of the family has decreased because of changed circumstances, loss of reduction of employment, death in the family, and reduction in loss of income or other assistance. So you can switch your so a family can switch their methods of payments based on hardships, and these hardships are listed out. If there was an increase because of changed circumstances in the family's expenses for medical costs, child care, transportation, education, or similar items, and such other situations as may be determined by the agency, public housing agency shall encourage and reward employment and economic self-sufficiency. Income reviews. Notwithstanding the second sentence of paragraph L, in the case of families that are paying rent in the amount determined under the subparagraph BI, the agency shall review the income of such family not less than every 3 years. Okay. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Minimum rental amount. Requirement. Notwithstanding paragraph 1 of this subsection, the method for rent determination elected pursuant paragraph 2A of this subsection by a family residing in public housing section 802 of this act or section 206D of the Housing and Urban Renewal Recovery Act of 1983. Did anybody know there was a such thing as section 206? And this is of the Housing and Urban Rural Recovery Act of 1983.
Nope.
The following entities shall require the following families to pay a minimum monthly rental amount, which amount shall include any amount allowed for utilities of not more than $50 per month as follows. Come on, man. If you even if you want to set your own housing authority, they give you the parameters to use. This is paint by numbers, relatives. I'm not going to read all of this. But I wanted to occupancy by policies and offices. So as a housing authority, these are all the things you have to take into consideration when you're putting this stuff together. Terms and conditions, definitions. Then they give the definition of public housing, the term low-income families, what that means. Persons and families. The term families includes families with children and in cases of elderly families, near elderly families, and disabled families mean families whose heads or their spouse or whose sole member are elderly, near elderly, or persons with disabilities respectively. The term includes in the case of elderly families, near elderly families, and disabled families. 2 or more elderly persons, near elderly persons, or persons with disabilities living together. 1 or more such persons living with 1 or more persons determined under the public housing agency plan to be essential to their care or well-being. Absence of children, temporarily absence of children from the home due to placement in the foster care shall not be considered a determining family composition and family size. They give you definitions for all these things. Displaced person means a person displaced by governmental action or a person whose dwelling has been extensively damaged or destroyed as a result of disaster declared or otherwise formally recognized pursuant to federal disaster relief laws. Near elderly person. The term near elderly person means a person who is at least 50 years of age but below the age of 62. The term income means income from all sources of each member of the household as determined in accordance with the criteria prescribed by the Secretary in consultation with the Secretary of Agriculture, except that any amounts not actually received by the family and any amounts which would be eligible for exclusion under Section 1613A of the Social Security Act may not be considered as income under this paragraph. So in this instance, I think Social Security income can't be counted as income. Disability, I don't think can be counted as income. Adjusted income. means the respect of the family, the amount as determined by the public housing agency of income of the members of the family residing in a dwelling unit of the persons of on a lease, after any income exclusion as follows. I mean, they got definitions for everything. We have no excuses, people. This is an act. It's not something we pulled up or we put together. This is an act that was created by Congress to help our people. Mixed finance projects, public housing agency plan, capital fund, operating fund. Do Division said it best. You, the applicant, determine what a family is. Thank you, Do Division. So this PDF is in the form under HUD, facts, FAQs, and PDFs. Okay, section 4. This is on page 19 if you're pulling up the PDF. Section 4, 42 USC 1437B. The Secretary may make loans or commitments to make loans to public housing agencies to help finance or refinance the development, acquisition, or operation of low-income housing projects by such agencies. Any contract for such loans and any amendment to a contract for such loans shall provide that such loans shall bear interest at a rate specified by the Secretary, which shall not be less than a rate determined by the Secretary of the Treasury, taking into consideration the currency average market yield on outstanding marketable obligations of the United States, with remaining periods so maturity comparable to the average maturities of such loans, plus 1/8 of 1%. Such loans shall be secured in such manner and shall be repaid within such period not exceeding 40 years, or not exceeding 40 years from the date of the bonds evidencing the loan as security. As Secretary may determine, the Secretary may require loans or commitments to make loans under this section to be pledged as security for obligations issued by a public housing agency in connection with low-income housing projects. So it's just giving you the terms under which the Secretary, basically I think it's the Secretary of Agriculture if I'm not mistaken, can lend money to a housing agency. The Secretary may issue and have outstanding in any one-time notes and other obligations for purchase by the Secretary of the Treasury, so Secretary of the Treasury, in an amount which will not, unless authorized by the President, exceed $1.5 billion. Wait. The Secretary may issue and have outstanding at any one time notes and other obligations for purchase by the Secretary of the Treasury in an amount which will not, unless authorized by the President, exceed $1.5 billion. For the purposes of determining obligations incurred to make loans pursuant to this act against any limitation otherwise applicable with respect to such loans, the Secretary shall estimate the maximum amount to be loaned at any one time pursuant to the loan agreements then outstanding, which public housing agencies, such notes or other obligations shall be in such forms and denominations and shall be subject to such terms and conditions as may be prescribed by the Secretary of Approval or the Secretary of the Treasury. So what this is saying is that a housing agency cannot borrow any more for one loan, no more unless authorized by the President, nothing to exceed $1.5 billion. Billion with the B. $1,500,000,000. commas. I'm just saying.
Mm-mm-mm.
The notes or other obligations issued under this subsection shall have such maturities and bear such rate or rates of interest as shall be determined by the Secretary of Treasury. The Secretary of Treasury is authorized and directed to purchase any notes or other obligations of the Secretary issued hereunder, or for such purpose is authorized to use a public debt transaction, and the proceeds from the sale of any securities issued under Chapter 31 or Chapter 31 of Chapter 31 United States Code, and the purpose for which securities may be issued under such chapter are extended to include any purchases of such obligations. The Secretary of the Treasuries may at any time sell any of the notes or other obligations acquired by him under this section. All redemptions, purchases, and sales by the Secretary of the Treasury of such notes or other obligations shall be treated as public debt transactions in the United States. Macadon one says 1.5 billion. Copper Color answers and says what? 1.5 billion per. That's the maximum that they can loan out per note. That's not all together. That's per note, unless allowed to be exceeded by the President of the United States. So it makes that 586 million grant that was given to a housing
New York,
authority.
that ain't
New York,
nothing.
that ain't nothing. That's only a third. At such times as the Secretary may determine, and in accordance with such accounting and other procedures as the Secretary may prescribe, each loan may be the Secretary under subsection that has any principal amount outstanding or any interest amount outstanding or accrued shall be forgiven, and the terms of the condition of any contract or any amendment to a contract for such loan with respect to any promise to repay such principal and interest shall be canceled. Such cancellation shall not affect any of the terms and conditions of such contract. So that means you can actually, the Secretary has the authority to forgive a loan. And it will not affect any other loan that you may have or any other contract. This paragraph may not apply to any loan, the repayment of which was not to be made using annual contributions, or any loan, all or part of the proceeds of which are due to public housing agency from contracts or others. 2A. On the date of the enactment of the Housing and Community Development Reconciliation Amendments of 1985, each note or other obligation issued by the Secretary to the Secretary of the Treasury pursuant to subsection B, together with any promises to repay the principal and unpaid interest that has accrued on each note or obligation, shall be forgiven, and any other term or condition specified by each such obligation shall be canceled. On September 30th, 1986, and on any subsequent September 30th, each such note or other obligation issued by the Secretary to the Secretary of Treasury pursuant to subsection D during the fiscal year ending on such date, together with any promise to repay the principal and unpaid interest that has accrued on each note or obligation, shall be forgiven, and any other term of condition specified by each such obligation shall be canceled. Any amount of budget authority and contract authority that becomes available during the fiscal year as a result of the forgiveness of any loan or obligation of this subsection shall be rescinded. So basically, they can take the loan, sell the loan. They can actually not only sell the loan, but they can actually take the loan.
Quick question.
Go ahead.
On subject, off subject, but mainly on. Donald Trump start comes from construction, right?
Say it again.
Donald Trump start comes from construction, right?
Yeah.
And a whole lot of debts dealing with contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't Ben Carson the HUD secretary?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. He works with the Treasury, right?
Yep.
They can forgive loans.
Yep.
Oh, all right. I'm just checking something.
So, contributions for lower income housing projects. Section 5. The Secretary may make annual contributions to public housing agencies to assist in achieving and maintaining the lower income character of their projects. The Secretary shall embody the provisions for such annual contributions in a contract guaranteeing their payment. The contribution payable annual under this section shall in no case exceed a sum equal to the annual amount of principal and interest payable on obligations issued by the public housing agency to finance the development or acquisition costs to the lower income project involved. Annual contributions payable under this section shall be pledged, if the Secretary so requires, as Secretary for obligations issued by a public housing agency to assist the development or acquisition of the project to which annual contributions relate, and shall be paid over a period not to exceed 40 years. So basically, it looks like when they say secretary, they must be talking about the secretary of the housing agency in reference to the.
That's what I was saying. Ben Carson is HUD secretary. Mm-hmm. Ain't that Donald Trump, buddy? Mm-hmm.
The secretary may make contributions in the form of a grant to public housing agencies to cover the development costs of public housing projects.
Yeah, chat, y'all own it. I'm just not gonna say it, but yeah, exactly what the chat said. It hit me. When you was reading, it hit me right in the head, like bang bang. Like, hold up. Oh man.
The Secretary may make contributions in the form of grants to public housing agencies to cover the development costs of public housing projects. The contract under which such contributions shall be made shall specify the amount of capital contributions required for each project to which the contract pertains, and that the terms and conditions of such contract shall remain in effect for a 40-year period.
And James just summed it up in the chat. HUD secretary is a cabinet position. Oh man.
The amount of contributions that would be established for a newly constructed project by a public housing agency designed to accommodate a number of families of a given size and kind may be established under this section for a project by such public housing agencies that would provide housing for the comparable number of sizes and kinds of families through the acquisition of rehabilitation and use under lease of structures that are suitable for low-income housing use and obtain the local market. The Secretary may prescribe regulations fixing the maximum contributions available under different circumstances, giving consideration to cost, location, size, rent, payability of prospective tenants, or the other factors bearing upon the amounts and periods of assistance needed to achieve and maintain low rentals. Such regulations may provide for rates or contributions based upon development, acquisition, or operation costs under a dwelling units, number of persons, housing, interest charges, or other appropriate factors. The Secretary may enter into contracts for annual contributions aggregating not more than $7,875,049,000 per annum, which amount shall be increased by $1,494,400,000 on October 1st, 1980, and by $906,985,000 on October 1st, 1981. The additional authority to enter into such contracts provided on or after October 1st, 1980 shall be effective only in such amounts as may be approved in appropriation acts, in addition to the aggregate amount which may be obligated over the duration of the contracts may not exceed $32,200,000 with respect to the additional authority provided on October 1st, 1980, and $18,887,370,000 in respect to the additional authority provided on October 1st, 1981. The Secretary shall enter into only such new contracts for preliminary loans as are consistent with the number of dwelling units for which contracts for annual contributions may be entered into. A full faith and credit of the United States is solemnly pledged to the payment of all annual contributions contracted pursuant to this section, and they are hereby authorized to be appropriated in each fiscal year out of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated. Wait, what? The amounts necessary to provide for such payments. Wait a minute. The full faith and credit of the United States is solemnly pledged to the payment of all annual contributions. Remember, contributions can be grants. Contracted for pursuant to this section, Section 5, and there are hereby authorized to be appropriated in each fiscal year out of any money in the Treasury not otherwise appropriated, the amounts necessary to provide for such payments. So there are appropriated funds, and there are also any funds that are not appropriated going to go for this sole purpose.
A blank check.
Every year.
I'm going to say this. Say what you want to say about Trump. That's a smart chess move.
Number 4, all payments of annual contributions pursuant to this section shall be made out of any funds available for purpose of this act when such payments are due, except that funds obtained through the issuance of obligations pursuant to Section 4B, including repayment of other realizations of the principal of loans made out of such funds, shall not be available for the payment of such annual contributions. I don't think people understand what this means. These funds are basically guaranteed. And from what I'm reading, come hell or high water, these funds are going to be made available every year. During such periods... Go ahead, Bones.
I actually, when this dude is out of office, get ready for a boom in construction. I mean, all jokes aside, y'all, if y'all don't see the business move that was played here, yes, woo! You in construction. You come from construction. You can get all your loans forgiven because your buddy is on your cabinet, HUD secretary. Moving forward, you have business contacts that already have info on upcoming contracts that are guaranteed
for 40 years. Don't forget that.
Man, look at here.
Doodle Vision says a lot of big cranes and orange barrels.
You know it's about to go down.
During such period, a secretary may prescribe for starting construction. The secretary may approve the conversion of Public Housing Development Authority for use under Section 9. Y'all know what Section 9 is. Or for use for the acquisition and rehabilitation of property to be used in public housing. If the public housing agency, after consultation with the unit of local government, certifies that such assistance would be more effectively used for such purpose, and if the total number of units assisted will not be less than 90% of the units covered by the original reservation.
Original what? Huh?
During such period as the secretary may prescribe for starting construction. The Secretary may approve the conversion, of Public Housing Development Authority. So the Public Housing Development Authority uses funds under Section 9 for the acquisition and rehabilitation of property to be used in public housing. So that means public housing that is already up that needs to be converted. And it says after consultation with the unit of the local government, meaning wherever you're at, certifies that such assistance would be more effectively used for such purpose, Public Housing Authority, under Section 9, meaning to convert, basically to convert from Section 8, which is what's been happening in Norfolk and other areas, to mixed use or some other form of housing, would be more effectively for used for such purpose, and if the total number of units assisted will not be less than 90% of the units covered by the original reservation, then they will allow them to do that. Due Division says, where's the 25-year HUD veteran that's been sitting on this information? I can't wait to meet her. This is my main man, Macadon 1, Pamela Hall Pass, David Corey. Yeah. Number 6. The aggregate amount of budget authority which may be obligated for contracts for annual contributions and for grants under Section 17 is increased by 9. Whoa. What? 1, 2. Hold on. Let me read that because all them commas threw me off. The aggregate amount of budget authority which may be obligated for contracts for annual contributions for grants under Section 17 is increased. Now, this is on top of what they were already getting annually. So this is what has been increased annually. It has been increased by $9,912,928,000 on October 1st, 1983, and by such sums as may be approved in appropriation acts of October 1st, 1984. The aggregate amount of budget authority that may be obligated for contracts for annual contributions for assistance under the Section 8 for contracts referred in paragraph 7A4 and 7B4 for grants for public housing for comprehensive improvement assistance and for amendments to existing contracts is increased to the extent approved in appropriation acts by $7,167,000,000 in October 1st, 1987, and by $7,300,945,000 on October 1st, 1988. Doodle Vision said this is bonus funding. On October 1st, 1990, and by $14,709,400,000 on October 1st, 1991. The aggregate amount of the budget authority that may be obligated for assistance referred to in paragraph 7 is increased to the extent approved in Appropriations Acts by $14,710,990,000. Hold on. Yeah, 990,520 on October 1st, 1992, and by $15,328,852,122 on October 1993.
We in 1993, and this is on top of.
Doodle Vision says, why do you think so many? Yep.
Oof.
Doodle Vision says, why do you think so many construction companies use HUD funding? The money's only increased every year, and it's guaranteed.
Guaranteed.
Seven, using the additional budget authority provided under paragraph 6 and balances of budget authority that become available during fiscal year 1993, the Secretary shall, to the extent approved in appropriation acts, reserve authority to enter into obligations aggregating for public housing grants under subsection A2 not more than $830,900,800, of which amount no more than $257,320,000 shall be available for Indian housing. For assistance under Section 8, no more than $1,977,662,720, which 20 million shall be available for 15-year contracts for project-based assistance to be used for the multicultural tenant empowerment and homeownership project located in the District of Columbia, except that assistance provided for such projects shall not be considered for purposes of the percentage limitations under sections 812, except that not more than 49% of any monies appropriate under this clause may be used for vouchers under section 8. For comprehensive funding improvement assistance grants under section 14K, not more than $3,100,000,000. Hold on, let me read what Dudovic says. Why do you think so many? He says the NFL football team owners use HUD funding to build their stadiums. Yeah, because this money grows every year. Now, are y'all starting to understand why we get looked at? When I say we, I'm talking about as a whole. We get looked at stupidly when we talk about the government's not doing anything. This is one area in the budget that they cannot move from because of the promise they made.
Yep. And they doing what they want with it because we not even using it.
And these numbers that were in the billions, this was before 2000. This goes up every year. That money goes in every year. It's not a situation of don't use it, you lose it. It just accumulates. Y'all better wake up, man. I can't read no more. My eyes hurt. And it's 10:33. Bones, this is ridiculous. Stop playing. Dudovision says even when the government shuts down, HUD can still pay those funds.
Yeah. Think about it. They have direct contact with the Treasury Secretary and the Treasury.
That's it. I quit. I'm done.
That's why I said before, just imagine when we start applying ourselves. It's funding, it's so much funding and stuff out there. All we have to do is start putting ourselves in position and start applying ourselves in our communities. I mean, really. Because if you think everything we talked about the last couple of days is a lot, there's so much more we haven't even touched on.
Pamela Hall says, TMH, y'all do know how to make my heart rate go past what my doctor wants. The money is here. It's always been here. Well, it's been here since 1937. I don't know what else to say, bro.
I'm the same way. I'm like, if this don't explain living conditions, if it don't explain politicians, the way government move, I mean, to me, it can't get no more clearer.
David Corey asked a question. He said, "Is this what it means when Congress has to do business with the Indians? They have no choice."
But when the Indian ain't doing business, that allows government to do business on your behalf.
This is public information, y'all. I didn't pay any money to get access to this. I don't belong to any secret club or give a secret handshake. This is public information. I pulled this up on the internet using Google. Doodle Vision says people can keep marching and picketing. I'll be in HUD Secretary's office discussing these section codes and requirements for qualifications. I mean, there ain't nothing else to say about this, y'all. And I don't mean no harm, because I see what you talk about, Pamela harm. Those casinos, to me, that's not wise. Because
the casinos are still independent. You're still, you know what I'm saying? No, that's not self-sufficient.
Because you're dependent on people to come in and gamble, and you're hurting people financially. Doodle Vision says we can't be mad at those people taking advantage of those funds because we're not using them. Exactly, Doodle. So I put the link to this in the chat. Y'all can download it and look over it. I was just on page 22 of section 5. There's 204 more pages to go. So, Gabrielle, no sell out. Y'all got anything y'all want to add or say before we do our salivation salutation?
Nope.
Doodle Vision says, don't open up a gambling shack, open up a job placement center. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know what to say.
I mean, really, it's time to get to action. I mean, what else is there?
And as soon as you said that, Macadon 1 says no more talk, time for action on the ground. Feet on the ground. When you got billions and billions of dollars in different pots being poured into HUD, and the only place they pointing us to is Section 8. But the only time you want to be dealing with Section 8 is if you are the housing authority and you dealing with homeless people. And when I say dealing with homeless people, I mean giving them a place through your housing authority. Come on now, makes no sense. There should not be a homeless person in anywhere in the United States.
Yep.
I'm sorry. What did you just say, TMA?
I said there should not be a homeless person anywhere in the United States based off of being able to set up your own housing authority and form your own voucher system and be able to purchase land.
Grand Rising, Pamela Hall. Glad you called in.
Oh.
Grand Rising.
You got something you want to say?
No. I was listening to what you were saying, but that's what I'm saying. they putting up all these casinos, and they're using this money to do that. That's what I'm saying.
But those are
That's
personal
what I'm
choices.
saying.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Those are personal choices because we're not accessing the money. So I mean,
Right,
yeah, they got
right.
access.
We're not accessing the money, and like I told y'all the other day, y'all been blowing my mind with this information. All my life, I've been trying to figure out how to do something for my kids so they have a legacy to continue after I'm gone. And hearing all this information, it got my heart rate up right now, and I'm scared to take my blood pressure to see what my heart rate is. It's crazy because I this is the things I've always wanted to do, and it's I can't even grasp it right now. For real, I cannot grasp it. My brain cannot grasp this right now. Come on, man, y'all. Ooh, Lord Jesus.
We just again thank Doodle
I better
Vision.
talk to Pamela.
Thank Doodle Vision. He's the one that put this information out to us. I didn't know. I knew what HUD was, or at least I thought I knew what HUD was, but I had no idea that all this stuff was available. So that's Doodle Vision. All we doing is exposing what he showed us. So and he's been screaming this at the top of his lungs for over basically 16 years now, basically since 2004. So that's him. We just decided as a group that we was going to expose this to y'all because I promise you. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Pamela.
I'm glad he did, but I wish I would have knew him 15 years ago. I would have jumped on this 15 years ago when my body could take the fight. When I could take it to them and speak my mind and do what I need to do and step on toes and put people in the headlock. I can't do that now. My body can't get it now because my body is not going to cooperate with me. I know my body ain't going to cooperate with me.
That's why we here to help. We help.
So,
help.
We got people right now that's about to lose their homes. My grandson, the one I'm raising, his mother is living in the projects they are about to knock down. They're about to knock these projects down.
So what you can do is
remove these people.
So what you can do is you can go to the HUD, the PDF that we was reading from the frequently asked questions. There's a link that you can go to report them and then find out what it is that those people can actually do, so they won't get forced out. So at least get relocated. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's a program that can help them. They just need to know it exists, and no one's going to volunteer that information. So if that's the case, then what you can do is make that phone call and say, "Hey, this is what's going on. What do I need to do?" And that's under the HUD. Was the HUD Section 3 Act of 1965? We put the PDF. It's in the form, but it's also
in the form.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna go on there today, and I'm gonna try to contact her today, and I'm gonna sit down with her. Even though I know this gonna probably blow over her head, Coach Chad. But it needs to be put out.
Exactly. Copper Color Answers, it says it's a lot of info, so replay it and replay it, take notes. And also too, all I did was just read from the document. That's all I did. Grand Rising Doodle, what's going on, brush man? Help us out.
Well, I want to thank y'all. And Doodle, I want to definitely give you a special thanks. Because, brother, you have opened my eyes up to a lot. For real. I have some people in my family that are well off, that I probably could sit down and talk to get some things popping in my family. And once I get a chance, I'm going to go through this stuff, sit down and take some notes, and then try to pull a meeting with them and try to get a hop on this. Oh my goodness. Woo, Lord, I'm still trying to calm down, y'all. Please forgive me. I'm sweating like I don't dance 3 miles. Um, so thank y'all. I love y'all guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Uh, Lord have mercy. And y'all have a blissful day for real. Yeah,
You
have
do
a
the
blissful
same,
day.
relative. You do the same.
Same to you.
Thank, thank y'all guys.
Thank you.
Did she just quad out the panel?
Yes, she did.
Greetings to those on the panel. Greetings to those on the chat. I'll be very brief, and then I will fade off into the sunset. What Sister Pamela Hall passed, what she mentioned her grandson's mother is going through, she actually qualifies for a relocation voucher, which is equivalent to what we call a home choice voucher, or we know better as a Section 8 voucher. They just can't put the people that live in that community out in the streets. So she qualifies for a voucher. So if you're still listening, have her to contact her local housing authority via phone, email, and set an appointment. They have to give her a relocation voucher. And that relocation voucher consists of they pay for the movers to pack. Of course, you still have to pack some of your own stuff, but for the most part, whatever regular movers gives for boxes or whatever, transporting your belongings to the new location. They're also responsible for paying the deposit and the rent and any transportation fees as well, as far as transferring of your utilities and all that. So these people and I see it all over. They start protesting. They go to the news tomorrow. We being kicked out. Is again, you have to know the passwords to get in. The gatekeepers are not just going to give you this information. Very rarely you're going to find anyone that's affiliated with HUD, that is trained with HUD. They're not going to give you this information voluntarily because they aren't taught to do that in the trainings. Trust me, I know. But if you ask the right questions, they have to answer the questions. Go back and look at iRobot again. Ask the right questions, use the right buzzwords. Then you can sit down and start having these conversations. So she qualifies for a relocation voucher. Now, what the problem is you have people that are set in their ways, and these communities are dilapidated and they don't want to relocate. They want to stay there. And I understand you want to stay in your community, but why would you want to stay in a dilapidated substandard housing? Let them tear it down. But well in advance, they have to give you the vouchers. And if you don't go in there and request a voucher, then that's when you end up being homeless. See, they're not. That's why these news reporters aren't telling you this. The people that are protesting, these think tank groups that are saying, "Oh, we'll help you." These attorneys that fly all over to try to fight for civil rights and civil causes and all that stuff. They don't tell you that.
And they're using HUD funds.
But then, by the same token, they are using HUD funding to their foundation. Why? Because they are providing a service. And I'm talking about all these shady attorneys, these ambulance chasers. They are using HUD funding. Why? Because they are providing a service for an underserviced community. With that, I yield the mic.
And all because we're not doing it for ourselves.
Exactly. That's what it is. Hold on for a second. I gotta send this text message.
Anybody got any thoughts?
I got some. It's time to get to work.
I guess with that, relatives, is just mainly now getting active in your local community, finding out the needs of your community. Start reaching out to like-minded individuals in your families, in your communities, to see what y'all can get together and get done. Start by addressing the basic needs. Who know the needs of your community better than you? I mean, the playbook on how to set it up, the applications, what you need to have to be in accordance to receive these grants, all the information is there. The guidelines and everything. And for anything you don't know, they even have training to even teach you on how to. I said it's time to come out. It's time to start being a part of society. Really. Not just on TV or in music, but by taking an active part and controlling the conditions of our communities, of our households. I mean, if this information don't show you how the majority of everything is constructed in this country, I don't know what else we can show. I mean, really. If this doesn't show that there's an opportunity to make a change, I don't know what else to say. There's proof all around you that it works. You see it every day. Now you're able to connect the dots. And even more, realize that you're really not locked out. That
You're actually locked in.
That there's a way.
All right, so it's time for the salutation. Gabrielle, what you got for the good people before we head on up?
I got yeah. Again, continue to do your genealogy, know who you are, and don't let nobody tell you who you are. Bones is exactly correct. Being part of society, because we ultimately are part of society. Whether we participate or not, we're still a part of the things that happen and the things that don't happen. So yeah, everything does cost, even conversation. All you have to do is pay attention. It's really no excuses. The information is out there. The resources are out there. It is nothing to do but to do it. So at the end of the day, it's choice. Either you want to do or you don't. Either you want to talk about it or you don't. You want to know or you don't. But yeah, there's no more excuses. Peace to the panel, peace to the chat, and peace to the silent majority. Definitely hope everyone has a beautiful day. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
No sellout. What you got?
Nothing.
Really? Because we don't.
Questions, comments, concerns, and or corrections, please email attentionassembly@gmail.com. Log on to the website, check out the forum, check out the replays. We got that on demand popping. And man, shout out to Pamela Hall for showing everybody that number still works. No issues. You can call us, express your feelings like she did. But yeah, hit us up. I'm going on mute. Peace, y'all. Happy Friday.
James Swain. Again, many thanks for what you present to us, and waking us up so we can get on our grind, expose this information, and help as many people as possible. I know it took us a while to get to you, but we here, and we definitely thank you. So, what you got for the people out there before we head on out?
Oh no, brother, y'all were right on time. It's for the knuckleheads out there that keep fighting and still making PayPal accounts to get $200 because they want to lead a country. But anyway, oh man,
gotta go.
I don't know where you gonna go for $200. So somebody let me know.
Hey,
that won't even get you in a family of 4 at Six Flags, man. Come on, man.
Hold up, ain't a what do you call that thing that you got to get out the country? A passport, $180.
Yeah, so you go travel for $20, huh?
I guess it's been done on YouTube. I guess somebody got a channel hitchhiking.
Hey man, I know Spirit. I know you can get some cheap flights, but $20. Come on, son.
The bag's gonna cost you $25.
Unless you go be in there with the cargo with all the exotic animals and dead bodies, because y'all do know they like transport dead bodies on the same flight you're on. I don't mean to creep anybody out, but yeah, that's how they get them from one place to another.
You a stowaway.
Leonardo the nappy bro up in this camp. So y'all go ahead and keep knocking yourselves out. And y'all think that asking people that need help for pennies is gonna get you where you need to be. That is why Brother Thomas keeps saying, when you go and you say they ain't doing nothing for us, they ain't doing nothing for our community, that's why they laugh at you, because they have the proof showing you, hey, the funding is there. No one ever comes in and requests it. So we give it to those that are utilizing it. Now I put a link in the back chat. Hopefully y'all can share it a little later. That this is a loophole that's now become public, but these stadiums have been using them. I'll give you an example. The AT&T Stadium, when it was built, was Cowboy Stadium. And if people think that Jerry Jones, the owner of the Dallas Cowboys, was using his money to get that stadium built, wrong. Why do you think these stadiums keep getting built in our communities? Football stadiums, basketball stadiums, all these ballparks, baseball ballparks, because the loophole has been there since 1977 under the Community Reinvestment Act. And they're using it and saying, we are rebuilding the dilapidated neighborhoods. And so the loophole is they are providing a service, they are providing jobs for people in this low income community, although they've taken their housing away. Because who are your parking lot attendants? Who do they look like?
Yep.
Who are those that greet you at the door that scan you in through security? Who do they look like?
Better recognize.
Who's telling you popcorn, get your popcorn here, sodas? Who are those people at these events? They're ones that look like us. And then afterwards, it's cleaning up the sticky Coca-Cola and popcorn and all that from the stadium. Who do they look like? They look like us. So what they're doing is they're reporting that they've given all these people jobs. So they're getting that HUD funding. It's just now becoming public. And I put that link in there because Bloomberg, of course, who's running for president, exposed this in this past December, like last month. Why it's coming out on the report? Because these are things that they've been knowing and been using. So let's go back again from 1977 until now. How many years ago they've been doing? Like I said, think of all the stadiums that have been built since '77 up until current date. They've been doing this. Go ahead, Brother Bones. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying, over and over. Every couple of years, they got to expand. They get a new name. Have anybody ever paid attention that when these stadiums, they always tell you how much public money is being invested into the building of the stadium, but you never ask where this public money come from?
Exactly. This is why this deal keeps getting done. Like I say again, trust me, I know how it's done because I've had several seats at those tables, and I have been a human sponge taking all of that in. For example, why do you think that they talk about Dallas, but here they separate the cities? Anyone that lives in this area will tell you, if you live in Irving, people don't say like, oh, you live in Dallas. Like, no, I live in Irving. If you live in Arlington, then people, why you think? I'm going to break down some of the things that are in Arlington. You have AT&T Stadium where the Cowboys play. You have the ballpark, Globe Life Park, where the Texas Rangers play, literally across the street. And now they're building a new stadium, and you have a water park and Six Flags, all within walking distance of each other. Why? Because the city gets all of that HUD funding. Then they can double down because now they're providing jobs for all of these people in that low-income community. I wanted to say something to Sister Pamela Hardpass. Everything that you said, you said, I wish I was younger and I wish I could do this and do that. You can now do it in the comfort of your own home. Because again, smartphones are for dumb people. That's why I have a smartphone. You can do everything that you need to do. You do not have to leave your bedroom because everything is done electronically. You make the phone calls, you send out the emails, you apply. All of that is done online. You don't have to ever see anyone face to face. The same thing that when you call in and using Zoom, you can set up the conference calls to talk to these people. If you don't know, have your list. Actually, literally, what I would do is I would have a show just like this one playing in one earpiece while I'm talking to the person on the phone. You don't even have to come up with your own questions. The questions and answers have already been given to you. So with that, I yield this cotton picking mic, and lo, I am with you always, even until the end of the world. Guado.
And he's gone. Give me a second.
What we gonna do? What we gonna do? Thank you, James. Appreciate that. Well, what I got to say is I'm just gonna say this. Crew Cut. The individual that calls himself Crew Cut, Coach Crew Cut. Defamation of character is liable under slander. You owe due division an apology. You still haven't answered whether you are part of Kusa Nation, who is heavily affiliated with HEMOC.
I'm still waiting on the email I was supposedly have gotten already.
You're doing these videos, but you're not answering the question. Again, like I said, I ain't no YouTube Indian. I'm gonna leave it at that. Thank you, Froggy. Jump. That's anybody that's got an issue with me. Ain't the problem you won't. Because I ain't got nothing to lose. Miss Phoenix Moon, please, 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 please find out if Coach Crew Cut is still affiliated with Coosa Nation. Because if he is still affiliated with Coosa Nation, with all the work that you're doing to help Chief Warhorse, sister, you can ill afford to have somebody like Crew Cut allow affiliation with HEMOC into the back door and further cause damage to Chief Warhorse and her tribe. I don't care how you feel about me personally. I really don't care. But if you care about Chief Warhorse like you claim you do, yes, I said claim you do, then this is something that needs to be eradicated quick, fast, in a hurry. I'm not saying Coach Crew Cut is still part of Coosa. We need to know if he is still a part of Coosa. Because if he is, that does not benefit Chief Warhorse or any other tribes that are being affiliated by these individuals that wish to do the tribes no good. So Phoenix Moon, I've seen you put out videos, but you haven't addressed that. So please, maybe you're doing your research, and if that's the case, we'll power to you, sister. But I promise you, please don't let nothing happen to Chief Warhorse. Because if something happens to Chief Warhorse, and I find out you and Coach Crew Cut were part of it, there is no way y'all can hide. You have my personal promise to that. With that being said, I appreciate everybody that came out today. I appreciate everything that's been done. I'm about to go on a little vacation. Actually, tax season is hitting the brother, so I'm gonna be a spot player. So y'all gonna be hearing some different voices, and I'll be in from time to time. So make sure y'all continue to show support. Don't make me come looking for you, cause I'll do it. I ain't got nothing better to do other than work, and I can work from anywhere. Copper Color Ancestor says, y'all just made my day with this information. Copper Color Ancestor, I hope it helps you, and I hope you're able to do something with it. And if for whatever reason you get stuck after doing something, please give us a call. You know the number works. Peace and wisdom and grand rising to the new subscribers to the YouTube channels, Autochthonous Assembly and Cab Grand Rising. Peace and bliss to the silent majority. Y'all know what it is. Y'all know what time it is. Continue to make your actions speak louder than words. Just because we don't hear you, that don't mean we don't see you. To the panel, I'm still going to stay in contact with y'all, so y'all know what's going on. Appreciate all y'all. Want to thank y'all families for sharing y'all with us, sharing y'all with me. Appreciate everything y'all do. Volunteering is not easy. It's definitely not appreciated. So, I don't tell you a lot, but I thank y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I love y'all like my brothers and my sisters. So, and for those of you that are listening and wonder what we're about, this is what I can tell you. We are about exposing the information. We are about helping you do your genealogy. We are about helping you find out who you are. I'm not here to tell you who you are. I can't tell you who you are. Only you can find out and discover who you are. Your genealogy, aka family tree, talking to your relatives, will tell you who you are. If what you do, or if you find out that you Native American, great. If you find out that you're American Indian, great. If you find out that you're African, great. If you find out that you're Irish, German, French, whatever, great. At least you will have a place to start. I'm not here to tell you who you are. No one from a Toxins Assembly is here to tell you who you are. What we do is we provide the information that makes it easier for you to find out who you are based off of location, and thanks to No Sellout, how he always post it, timelines. We here to get it right. We're not here to be right. So, appreciate everything that everybody's done. I appreciate everything everybody's doing. So with that, I'm going to turn over to Bose H. McCoy so he can do some recon on all the damn Sonic calls today. And I'm on mute.
Thanks again, TMH, and thank you for everything you have put in to make this show what it is every rising. Like I said, it's truly appreciated. And a lot of people probably think it's an easy thing to do. Trust me, I know it's not. I know you sacrifice a lot, especially with the consistency on how long we've been doing this. It's much appreciated. To the rest of the panel, thanks again for making the show what it is every rising, and continue to keep pushing the limits on what we can do for our people. Thanks again to the active chat, the ones who have been with us from the beginning, using the information, pushing the information on, wanting to gather more information to make a difference. Also, the silent majority for constantly listening and seeing what they can use to help their situations. And real quickly, just to address something, yes, a statement was made that someone reached out to contact me on some information dealing with the whole crew cut situation. No one reached out to contact me. Anybody who's saying they have, I'm letting it be known, you're hearing it directly from me. Nobody has reached out to contact me on anything dealing with that situation, and that's that. But back to this information, what matters mostly is people gonna show you who they are. And when they do, take them for who they say they are. Because again, if people are not trying to correct their mistakes, because we all make mistakes, we're human. If you're not trying to correct them, readjust ideologies on misinformation you had, to start applying to working in the communities and fixing the communities, people are letting you know who they are and where they stand. And all we can do is take this information, press it on, and keep pressing it on to those who are ready to use it and move forward and build. There's no magic dust or bean or anything that's going to fix our situations. But what will fix it? Like-minded individuals in our communities coming together, realizing that we have a common issue that we can fix. That there's many programs that we can use to help ourselves and our people. That the possibility of actually building something from us, for us, and by us is right in front of us. That for most of us, it's as easy as going out the door and walking downtown and asking questions. And yes, it can be very depressing, realizing this was around you your whole life. And you went through situations that were unnecessary. But we're here now. And them scars should be a reminder on why we should not drop the ball. Them scars should remind us why it's very important to make sure we don't try to be right, but we get it right. They should be reminders why we should never forget what happens when we remain silent, when we choose not to act. We can use this information in our communities to fix our situations, to be that guiding light for generations to come, to never know the hardships of our childhood, our teenage years, or even our adult life. So I ask all of us, let's do our best to spread this information. Let's do our best to set our institutions up so we can start putting ourselves in a better situation to be the controllers of our future. That the times of just talking are over. That when we start getting together, we should be able to get together to talk amongst each other about what programs we got going on in our communities. We should be getting together on what programs we got that we can share back and forth amongst communities. And it's not going to take 100 years to do this, relatives. It takes as long as it's going to take for us to take action. So on that note, let's continue to work in our communities. Let's continue to have the conversations, the necessary conversations, and make sure to ask the necessary questions. Let's continue to keep on this journey of genealogy. Let's continue to leave a legacy for generations to come. Let's make sure this entity that we call a Autonomous Assembly, that we all have a hand in building, outlasts us and remains that light for future generations on what can be done when we as a people we choose to take action and responsibility for ourselves and our own. Until the next time we link up, remember we love you and peace.
Oh, ain't nobody gonna say that now?
Peace, everybody.
Peace, y'all.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.